Welcome to Primus Creations, and today we have yet a new creation, this being Interpretation Soundwave. Now, for those of you who don't know what Interpretation Soundwave is, it's pretty much what I would have wanted Bavers to look like the Bavers Soundwave, because he was very bland, he was not that colorful, he was missing a bunch of other things that definitely ruined his character a lot. But without further ado, let's get close into him. But before I do that, he's really big compared to a minifigure, which we're going to still do during size comparisons. But first, let's just talk about the details, and then we're going to size comparisons and every other jazzy thing. But disclaimer, I couldn't get accessories due to the timing, and technically budget. I couldn't add multiple accessories to him. I couldn't add the cassette tapes. I couldn't add any function where his chest would have opened, so all of that is definitely a downgrade. So that kind of levels his things all the way down. But I mean, sculpting is pretty great. You know, the legs are kind of lackluster, but I didn't want to add too much to it. The hands are really meaty. The chest has a lot of effort. The side view is pretty good, and then so is this side. It's not as great as the front, but I still put effort into it, so that's that. The head sculpt, I definitely tried to make it more G1 than any other thing. I prioritized it kind of last, but I did prioritize the head by a lot. He has a more rounded mouth guard compared to any other transformer that I have, so that's interesting and neat. The head sculpt is really thick, and he doesn't really match the body too much, but I managed to kind of fake it and fudge it to fit inside the body. Although very brittle, it still managed it. And I managed to get that weird Decepticon kind of look. It's not as angular as the Decepticon logo, but it is pretty thick as the normal head of Soundwave, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, this panel kind of moves with it too. So he has a more human muscle design for the neck piece, which is something I had for Soundwave too, and I thought was pretty cool. The arms are extremely brittle. So the arms, if you've paid attention right here, is just rather brittle. This was something that was in Shockwave. Oh my goodness, that is so dusty. It started to contract plenty of dust throughout the span, because I had him there for about, I think, 2 months. Because I built him, but then I didn't have enough time, so I focused on other creations, so that's why there's no accessories. But that was a mouthful for some reason. But it's pretty brittle. There's not too much plating that joint, so some of it's going to be loose, like this over here. But I am kind of disappointed by that, but it is what it is. I can't change it now. Hey, think of it as a Bavers aspect in some sort of way. So let's put him back. Focus on the body instead of the head sculpt. These are super simplified compared to what a normal Bavers character looks like, so I can't show you one right now because I don't have one on me. Most of these are just future characters like Rise of the Beast and stuff, but these legs are extremely simplistic, like I said, compared to the normal average Bavers. There are some plating in there that kind of show detail, like in here too, but not as well. The skirt piece too is simplified as well. But I'll tell you one thing that is completely not simplified and is not looked over is this torso. I spent a good amount of 3 days designing it, and yeah, it was kind of more concept art, but I spent most of my days when I worked on him in this torso and shoulder area because I wanted to see what fits. But this was mainly inspired by, of course, Bavers with that weird speaker thing, but these are all actually the tires. Excuse the back headlights though, that was not supposed to be there. I just kind of added it there to add it. It wasn't meant to be there, but this torso detail is absolutely incredible on my part, and I'm pretty proud of it. The Mercedes logo, like Bavers, there are some gray aspects all over the body. I know I'm kind of retracting away from the torso, but I did have to mention that there is some gray all over the body to still give it some Bavers color. So, and he's pretty well rounded. He has all these parts over here, and these things kind of resemble pistons, so I am pretty proud of that. There are ball joints inside of there. So yeah, all of these, like I said, all of these parts resemble pistons, and these are slight platings, and then this, I don't know what these pieces would be inside the car, but I just added some of these pieces and panels there. Over here, he has barely any gray. I wanted to add blue, but normal Soundwave had white all over the place, so I just kind of added some pieces of blue. But most parts are largely white with some gray over there. And then here, of course, a combination and mixture of a new idea. Not really combining a normal Soundwave, but it only has kind of a speaker, but that's the part of the tire, so it's really not. But I did add these details to kind of chunk up the leg a bit so it doesn't look too brittle. But I mean, yeah, he is slanted most of the time, so that is that. But the back is something interesting too, because I don't think I was supposed to add these. I wanted him to be originally a normal Mercedes, but I couldn't do that. But at least he has this nice window to show that he can transform. He's not a transforming transformer, so don't ask about it, but I didn't want to give him kibble, even though it's kind of useless to give him kibble. I just felt like it would have been a nice idea. And then these panels are left uncolored. And then everything else is still symmetrical, still the same exact color except for the hinges over here. And the back, I forgot to pick the back, but it's whatever. Alright. Moving on to size comparisons. We have a normal minifigure. It's kind of going to be hard because I don't want to do the 0.5 because it's going to be really blurry, but we'll work through it. We have a minifigure. Matter of fact, I'll do the 0.5. So why not? Alright, minifigure. That's not a great idea, but whatever. Actually, no, never mind. Not whatever. We have the Transformers 1 Optimus Prime. You can definitely tell he is nowhere near as close as he is to anyone. And then we have this one I can actually kind of put over here like this. We have the Bumblebee movie Megatron with a Lego sword. For some reason it fits, so I like to think of this as the Darksaber. Don't even ask why. But it's kind of hard to fit them in frame. I'll just kind of zoom them out. But yeah, Soundwave is still pretty big. Even if he's like upright, Soundwave is a lot bigger than Megatron. I think this is cool though. It just snapped in place really nicely for some reason. But I'm gonna move him aside. And then we have more into a less grayer area of Lego, but we'll still get into it. We have some other sets from Lego if you want to know. Here's compared to a Boba Fett set I bought a while ago, and then here's some compared to some Speed Champions you already saw. But you have Boba Fett, not the greatest, but still pretty cool. And then we have the Lego Surtur, not even close, so we'll put him up on the top. I can't show you my upcoming Lego review yet because he's not finished and I don't want to make anyone have too much hype, but I will show you the Transformers 1 B127, however, because that is a really great figure. But I mean, height comparison, Bumblebee's still pretty short yet again, even if he's still standing upright. But then we also have Transformers 1 Optimus Prime. Expect a review on him too. I finally got him after a while, but I'm probably going to stand him up, but I think he's still shorter because he's not up by the Bayverse Optimus by much, but yeah, he's definitely shorter, so proof. Yeah, he's definitely shorter by a lot, so overall, Soundwave beats the competition when it comes to height. Now, before I get into articulation and then final review, and then I log off, I do want to mention this is going to be a shorter review, so because I didn't want to squeeze too much in because he doesn't really have accessories. But anyways, getting that out of the way, I couldn't add a shoulder cannon because of the way he's designed. It's really hard to add a shoulder cannon to a character who deserves a shoulder cannon but can't really get it because it's not possible. It's really hard to implement a shoulder cannon on him without there being no pegs, and it just, the shoulders don't really add up to the design of adding a shoulder cannon. Trust me, I've tried so many times. I've tried blocky, I've tried angular, I've tried round, I've tried head modifications, a transforming head with the cannon instead, like lockdown, but none of those would have worked, and none of those got the true patch anatomy to create that. So, but let's just go over articulation, which is surprisingly interesting, bad, and good as well. So there's a ball joint at the top of the neck, which can go up about that far, and then down, tilt side to side, not that much, but there is rotation. If you extend the head out with the ball stick, you can, well, not like that, but you can get it to articulate a bit. So I'm not going to try too much because, as you'll see soon, the neck will come out because the ball joint is way too thick on that. So it is just connected by one stud, so it's really a hard Lego to work with. But it just simply, once it's pegged in there, it sits nicely. It doesn't really come out unless you articulate it. So there's technically a other joint in here, but I don't want to move that for reasons. But I'll take him more out the screen. He has a double jointed shoulder, which you'll have to hinge these shoulder pieces out the way first, and then you can just simply shift them out and out of the way, which shows the articulation, which is on a hinge to keep it up, and then a ball joint, which can go out all the way, except for the fact that the hinge will kind of go down, so you'll have to fake it sometimes, so it won't really tend to go up. It's about as natural as you can get, I guess, because it's not going to let you, that hinge. I know it's a major design flaw, and I am kind of disappointed about it, but it is whatever. He wasn't really meant to pose. So, and then there's rotation with the ball joint over here, so you can get pretty far rotated, even though the same thing can be said here. I think it's just better to rotate it with that. And then about 90-degree bend over there. Oops, sorry, I forgot to connect that. About 90-degree bend over there. A ball joint here that can't go backward, but it can go forward, up and down. Individually articulated fingers. And when it comes to the torso, interestingly enough, if you see my previous Shockwave video, you know he has ball joints, but it's not really articulated. I don't know if it's something wrong with the torso, that it's loose, but for some reason, I think it's because it's loose, but he has torso articulation. I don't really see what's loose with it. I think it's this part, like if I put too much pressure, but he can go backward and then he can go forward. I think if I push it down, maybe, no, I still get it. So he can go forward pretty far, which is interesting because, like I said, Shockwave had never had that ability to go down, but he can still go up, and then you can tell because of this ball joint. This ball joint also seams it together, but you can definitely tell that he has articulation because of that ball joint. So it's kind of meant to keep the design stable, but also it has reason. So it's just supposed to make sure that there's not that much gaps because he's not a transforming transformer. So there's no swivel rotation or tilt side to side. It just has seemingly ab crunch only. So I don't know what you would get out of that, but it seems like there's two joints moving. This one and then this one. I don't want to move it too much because it seems like the joint starts to come out from there. So I think it's because of these. Well, this one didn't really come out. Sorry. It's just, I haven't really quite figured out what makes that joint, and I don't want to remove everything. Give me a minute. So I managed to decipher what exactly was that created the joint to move. So I don't know what I missed because Shockwave was never really able to do ab crunch, or at least I didn't want to try too much because of how brittle he was. And it seemed like that because I removed some reinforcement, I believe, in the joint, or in one of the joints, these pieces are able to kind of hinge up, even though it's like frictioned and pegged together. It's the back ball joint that creates it to articulate up because it's not fully reinforced, so nothing's like clashing into each other to create a block in the articulation. So that's interesting. That's new. It's cool. I definitely can't wait to use that on Starscream, 100%. Because I am doing Starscream with this design, even though I didn't really spoil it. I already told you guys a while ago, but... Alright, I'm gonna kind of lift... I'm gonna 90-degree bend these so that they can get out of the way. But yeah, this is extremely loose. This was because I wanted to do an intentional thing with shockwave, but not soundwave. So... I mean, you can always fix that by putting the hinge down and making sure it doesn't hinge up, so... Anyways, now, for this is a little bit more complicated. So for that, I'm going to have to hinge the joint up. So this one's a little bit tighter for some reason. I don't even know why. Some of the joints tend to act up on me. It's really annoying. Like, some are really tighter than others, but some are just really loose compared to others. Especially like the leg connection, so bear with me. Alright, I managed to make him do... You know what, I'm not even going to say it because I don't want to get in trouble or have something wrong happen to me. But, I mean, I managed to get the arms up, so it seems like you have to kind of have some balance with the arms. It seems like you kind of have to have some balance with it. So... But anyways, the hip skirts are on ball joints. They're not on the most secure ball joint in the world, but it is whatever, and these are extremely loose, so the up movement, don't even expect it. If you have tighter ball joints, it's definitely going to go up about that far. But the legs can't even go fully forward, so you have to kind of cheat and then bi-swivel there, and then you get a pretty decent kick, and then about 90-degree bend. Like, I think it's exact one-on-one 90-degree bend, so then you have rotation over there too. It'll definitely help, so like if you want the leg to go forward this far, you can just fake it. Kind of like the Blockies, Transformers 1 Optimus Prime. That is not great. Goodness, that is not great. You guys saw that. That thing came out instantly. But it seems like there's not too much... articulation, so I can go side about that far and then side about that far, forward and then backward, and then before it starts coming out. So, and there's slight rotation. So, and then that's pretty much about it with the legs. So, yeah, it's pretty basic. And then there's, well, wait, never mind, I already went over that. His arm loves to come out. I feel like I'm using outdated joints, so it's probably why it tends to pop out. So, if you focus here, I have to go over this a bit, because it's one of the main reasons why I don't do tutorials, because they're not the most stable transformers, so it's really hard to balance all of that out with a non-stable transformer, or technically Mach. So you kind of have to... You have to fake most of these connections and then work with it. So that means I have to keep the overall review kind of short. See, this one goes down easy, but that one doesn't. Anyways, final thoughts. Before I go into that, actually, sorry. Yet again, I've done that before. I am trying to create a transforming transformer. It is a mess. Don't even think about asking me. I probably won't answer it. I'm kind of tired of the transforming, non-transforming transformers. Does a transform thing. But I can still live with it, though. But, anyways, final thoughts. He is really cool in proportions. I've pretty much nailed most of the things except for lack of accessories and kind of extremely limited articulation. This whole shoulder joint, though, is definitely fine, I guess. Like, I can fix that, make it more solid anyways. But for me, it was a pain. It might not be a pain for you if you end up doing something like this. I'm acting, for some reason, I act like I'm going to show the tutorial when I'm actually not, because it's a hard process. I don't want to get my things stolen. It's a hard process disassembling and unassembling. So, and then, yeah, just the whole idea of it's kind of complicated, and then if I do it, things are going to fall apart. I did want to try, what's it called? instructions on like rebrickable, but I didn't want to try and do all that again. So for those of you expecting Bavers, expect Bavers soon. I do hope to show him out sooner rather than later. I'm finishing up the legs. I do plan on doing Yellow Park reviews, but I have to get an Elita one and D16 in first, and then eventually I'll have to get in the AMK Pro ones too, and then I'll try and review the 3.0 ones as well, because they're not that much, surprisingly. But he's pretty cool overall. His height is great. It's not going to necessarily fit into the collection, same as Shockwave, but I'm acting like this is going to be in your shelf, but I'm kind of giving you a sense of it, of like in a scenario-esque, but accessories, really lackluster. I hate to remove accessories, but I do plan on giving Prime accessories. Like, he's going to have the Energon blade and everything, and for some reason he's going to have alternate hands, which is going to be a topic of discussion when I release that video and when he's done. But I think overall I did a really great job, but there are some mistakes that definitely don't make this perfect. But yeah, if I were to give this a rating, I'd probably give it probably a 7 out of 10. I could be more harsh, but I probably don't want to ruin it because I think his design is just eye candy for me. So it was something I've been holding on for quite a while. Hopefully no one heard that in the background. I'll probably have to cut that out. If it's already cut, then good. But yeah, really exciting. There's so much more on the way, so do expect that. But I'm going to go ahead and hop off. So